All right, so why don't we kick things off here? Hello, everybody. My name is Roy Kagami, and I'm an enterprise account executive here at E42. Thanks for joining us today for our webinar about how you can leverage artificial intelligence to automate your accounts payable process. And, I'm sure most of you have been hearing a lot about artificial intelligence lately. There's certainly been a lot of interest around tools like ChatGPT, as well as Microsoft's Copilot, just as some examples. So I think we're all just starting to see how we can use AI to make our personal lives easier, as well as a little bit more productive in a business setting. But for enterprises, I think you can all attest that the competitive landscape is becoming more complex, as well as the cost of doing business, I think, are going up for all industries. So companies are adopting AI solutions to create efficiencies that are going to help them scale. So we're really going to be using that as the framework for the agenda today. So we'll kick things off by walking you through what a fully automated AP process looks like with the goal of straight through processing. And as part of the process, we'd like to educate you around some of the technologies that are available in the market today. That way you can evaluate solutions that are really the best for your business, as well as some of your specific use cases. And we are finding that a lot of finance teams are still processing their invoices manually. Definitely want to spend some time giving you an overview of some of the different types of invoice extraction solutions that are most widely used by AP teams today. The two we're going to be focusing on, the first will be what's called optical character recognition, or we'll refer to those as OCR systems, which I imagine that some of you already have some experience using. And we'll be doing a side-by-side comparison with systems that are actually leveraging artificial intelligence. These are called intelligent character recognition, or ICR systems. And of course, the extraction of information from your invoice is just one part of your AP process. We understand that every business is different, right? There's going to be a lot of nuances when it comes to the different rules that you're going to want to apply to your workflows. And this is really where automation platforms come into play. So we'll give you some education around some of the key differentiators between two of the main technologies that are being adopted across the enterprise right now. The first is called robotic process automation, and the evolution of these systems, which are called cognitive process automation platforms. And then round things out with the agenda, we'll be covering the importance of accuracy and efficiency when it comes to automating your AP process. Obviously, it's really important to provide some context around some of the outcomes that we're all looking to achieve, finance leaders, AP teams, by implementing an AI roadmap. So as we go through the webinar, I want to encourage all the attendees to post any questions in the Q&A section. You'll see in the menu of your Zoom app, and then we'll leave the last 10, 15 minutes or so to open up things for a larger discussion and go through a Q&A session. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Jonathan Jewett.
Hi, everyone. Thanks very much, Roy. Really appreciate it. So thank you, everyone, for attending. Really appreciate your taking time out of your busy schedules to share with us today. As Roy mentioned, I'm John Jewett. I'm the Chief Growth Officer here at E42, and I've been with the company for about 7 months now. And during that time, I've really had a chance to meet with a diversity of companies across many different industries and talk with them about digital transformation and AI and the various things that they're doing. And it's really been an eye-opening experience. So learned quite a bit, and I think gotten a good sense of what's happening in the market today, which is more of what we'll be talking about and sharing with you today. So really looking forward to a great discussion and, of course, a great Q&A session at the end. So let's go ahead and get started. At the beginning, what I wanted to talk just a little bit about was a kind of high-level overview of the market itself. So the good news is that as I talk to CFOs, a lot of them are really interested in and investing in digital transformation. So they've recognized the need and they're taking steps to get there. I think one of the challenges, as identified by Gartner here, is that their figure of 70% of these finance transformations are less impactful and moving more slowly than anybody would like. If you look at the technology that people are investing in to forward a DT type of initiative, you can see that for the most part, a lot of these technologies are older or incumbent technologies. And I would argue that's one of the reasons that they're not seeing the results that they want, is that when it comes to cognitive and advanced AI platforms and technologies, many organizations haven't quite taken that plunge yet. And as a result of that, they're starting to run up against the inherent ceilings that exist in existing technology. They're just not able to break past certain thresholds and get the kind of results that they want. And I think at the end of the day, that's why everyone on this webinar really should consider looking into what's coming, some of the trends that are emerging, the newer technologies, and what it means for you and your business. So let's look at a typical AP process because, as Roy mentioned, we're going to start with just workflow. So at the end of the day, the AP process lends itself well to automation because there's a lot of documents, a lot of invoices. There's a need for data and accurate data. There are very manual, tedious processes that currently are handled by folks on the team that potentially could be automated. So it's a perfect application of automation technology. So I think what we've found is that a lot of organizations have invested in some level of automation to this point, and those mixed results that they're seeing are sort of apparent here as we walk through a typical 7-step AP process. So everything starts with the process of receiving vendor invoices and communication. So probably someone, maybe multiple someone's on the team are monitoring an inbox, a vendor portal, maybe even sitting by the fax machine and getting invoices that are sent via fax and scanning those in, which still happens, believe it or not. So that's great. They make it work. At the end of the day, they go home at 5 o'clock. So the invoices keep coming. There's nobody there to monitor them. There's a chance of things getting lost. So it's not a perfect process, but they're making it work. On the authentication side, how are they determining if an invoice is a duplicate, whether or not the vendor actually exists, if there's, maybe a fraudulent entry or something like that made? All that needs to be done oftentimes by referencing multiple systems to check on those parameters. And again, takes time and effort. From an extraction standpoint, this is where the automation technology is most often applied in taking these documents that you're receiving and getting the data out and into a usable format. So again, with current automation, that can happen. It's something that is better than a manual process when you have some form of automation, but still maybe not at the level that it should or could be. Validation compares an invoice to a PO, make sure it's ready for payment, kind of goes to that final step before it goes for approval, at which point oftentimes multiple people, multiple departments are involved. You can see here we have represented the approximate number of people that often get involved with each of these steps. And as you can see, as you start to move forward in this AP process with a semi-automated process, you have to have more people involved to actually get that step completed. And finally, the entry into the ERP, the transactions written to the GL, and the invoice is archived in a shared drive in your ERP, whatever it might be. So in the studies that we've done, we've looked at about 1,000 invoices going through this end-to-end process. And what we've determined is for a semi-automated process, you're looking at just over 2 weeks, about 14.6 person days to process 1,000 invoices. So better than the old days when this entire process was manual, but still leaves a lot of room for improvement. And now by comparison, let's take a look at an AI-enabled process. In this case, what you're looking at is a process that can go, in many cases, up to step 5, if not further, with absolutely no human involvement at all. So a process that's handled completely by the system, receiving invoices and vendor communication, having an intelligent agent that's constantly monitoring those channels and others to see these invoices as they come in 24/7. Authentication is completed automatically, looking for fraud, looking for duplicates, looking for missing information in those invoices. And if there is missing information, being able to compose an email automatically to the vendor, sending it out and asking them to resubmit that invoice, again, without any person getting involved. We'll talk more about extraction, but this is ultimately where an AI-based system really shines, is making sure that all of these documents can get read and extracted, whether they're structured, unstructured, and everything in between. Validation occurs automatically, oftentimes through a real-time bidirectional communication with the ERP system. Those are sent to approvals. If it's a happy path, the system can keep going. If people are required to step in at certain levels of the approval, this is where they first get involved. And then finally, posting for payment, writing to the ERP, and automatically archiving that invoice wherever the company would like it to go. So that's what happens with the smart process. And if you look at the cumulative time expanded, you're looking at just over 2 days to process 1,000 invoices. So compare that to 14 days for a semi-automated process or a process automated with older technology. What would you and your organization do with those additional 12 days that you get back by bringing in an intelligent AI-enabled solution? I think it's a profound question and something that I think provides a lot of value for anyone that looks to make that investment. Just comparing what some of the benefits are as we go through across process efficiency, productivity, and ROI. On the left, the kind of black bar there is a manual process. In the middle, you've got semi-automation, and then on the right, an end-to-end AI-led automation solution. So across process efficiency, and invoice extraction is a great example of this. Maybe if you're lucky with an incumbent system, you can get 1 and 2 invoices read. With an AI-enabled system, you're looking at 85% on day one, and that gets better over time. From a productivity standpoint, looking to cut that time saved per invoice, looking to double that number. And finally, from an ROI and cost savings perspective, looking at just significant benefits there that range anywhere from just under 100% to over 500% based on what we've seen with our clients. So again, we go back to the Gartner point, which is people aren't seeing the velocity, the results that they wanted out of this process. Again, I would posit the theory that a big part of that is because they're using the wrong technology, and they really, again, could benefit from looking at more forward-looking and advanced technology like AI. So at this point, we're going to run a quick poll and just see what the audience thinks. So everyone, if you could please just fill this out as it comes up. All right, let's take a look at our results here. So for the first poll, what aspect of AP automation is your organization most interested in? It looks as though overall process improvement is first. Data capture accuracy and task automation are tied for second. And finally, that full workflow optimization is kind of the last option that's there. So interesting results. Overall process improvement is certainly something we're going to talk about, and an AI-led solution can help address, but also that data capture and task automation and workflow, all inherent in an AI-led solution. So I would say, wouldn't it be great if you could have all 4 of these within a single solution? So thanks everyone for filling that out. Great. So let's transition from workflow to the actual technology and talk a little bit about optical character recognition, or OCR, and intelligent character recognition, ICR. So this is a technology that is usually applied to the process of reading and understanding documents like invoices and of course other media. So OCR is the existing technology, the incumbent technology, if you will. It's often seen in an RPA-based system, robotic process automation. And this is kind of the existing technology that people are using today. I think a way to picture OCR, if you will, is that it is a grid-based format. And what that means is that organizations are required to train their existing invoices within this OCR type of framework. And as long as every invoice that comes in has invoice number in the same XY coordinate, vendor name in the same XY coordinate, total amount in the same XY coordinate, it does okay extracting that data because it knows where to look and it knows what it's looking for. However, the minute something changes, information's missing, you have a new invoice that the system hasn't been trained on, the invoice comes in a little bit differently. Maybe it's upside down or slightly askew or whatever it might be. The system often breaks down. And at that point, a person is required to step in and intervene, which again undermines the whole premise of automation, which is ultimately what we're after here. So let me compare that with ICR, which is the technology inherent in an AI solution. So intelligent character recognition, the big difference here is that an ICR system reads a document like a person would read and process a document. So it can look for context. It can understand that invoice number might be written as INV or invoice number or just invoice or just number and understand what that is and make sense of it and apply it. It can take the data that it inputs and apply that to other areas of the workflow and the process. So ultimately, not only can it handle these very structured documents that are designed for an OCR system, but also unstructured documents, an email, for example, semi-structured documents, handwritten documents, whatever it might be. So at the end of the day, that's really the main difference, I'd say, is that OCR is good at the documents that it's trained on as long as there's no variation. ICR can handle anything you throw its way. So it can be a document it's seen, hasn't seen, things that are upside down, whatever it might be. ICR shines in that regard. And what that means for you is that at the end of the day, you're processing and extracting a much higher percentage of data from your invoices than you ever could before. And so if we look at these two systems kind of side by side here, we can check both boxes for the ability to take scanned documents, convert them into electronic text, being faster than people. It's automation, that's what it does. But then where ICR really starts to shine is on things like processing the entire document, being able to look at unstructured documents like emails, being able to understand handwriting, taking that data and converting it into a usable format that can be used elsewhere in the process. Again, the net result is that with an OCR system, you're going to run into those inherent limitations and ceilings we talked about with technology. Whereas with ICR, it can handle almost anything that you get today with minimal training. And as an example, what I would say is here are just some invoices that I think everyone on this call is probably familiar with. So invoices that are handwritten, invoices that come in different language, including character-based languages, variations in format, maybe a new vendor, invoices that are cluttered, complex, multi-page, upside down, whatever it might be. Again, an example like this comes in with an OCR system. It kind of breaks down. Somebody needs to step in and fix it. ICR can handle all of these documents. So at the end of the day, a system that you can rely on to handle just about anything that comes in through that vendor portal or into that AP inbox is really reassuring. Okay, terrific. We are going to stop here for a minute and ask for some audience interaction with another poll. So if you don't mind, please take a look and click on your choice. Please don't look at your neighbor's answers. These are all unique, please. And we'll give everyone a minute or two just to click through on this. And hopefully everyone's had a chance to weigh in. And once we get that final vote, we can go ahead and just look at the responses. Okay, so for the question, what would be the key factor for you when selecting an AI-led AP automation solution? Cost effectiveness comes out on top. That's not completely surprising. We have an audience with financial people in it. So certainly cost and total cost of ownership, ROI, are always going to be top of mind. Ease of integration, of course, is also very important. And then scalability and flexibility and vendor support look like they're kind of tied for the third response there. So thanks everyone for weighing in on that. And we are going to talk about cost effectiveness as we move forward, because I see that's important to everybody. So let's stick just for a minute on the idea of technology and what are the primary technology differences between an AI-led solution and everything else that's out there in the marketplace. So the terms that come into play there are robotic process automation, or RPA, which is the incumbent today, been around for about 15 years, and cognitive process automation, or CPA, which is the disruptor, the new kid on the block, if you will. And how do they compare with each other? So as I mentioned before, RPA has been around for about 15 years. If people say they have automation, chances are they're referring to an RPA type of system. And the way I think about RPA is it's like an automated conveyor belt. It's very good at doing the same thing over and over. So as long as that belt is running and nothing changes and the same pieces are coming down the line, RPA handles it pretty well and can do a pretty good job on it. The challenge is whenever something goes wrong, which inevitably in life it will. You will have something that comes up where there's an anomaly, there's a change, there's something new that it can't necessarily handle. And that's where CPA, I think, really comes into play. So the difference here is if you think about RPA as kind of a dumb assembly line, CPA is an intelligent virtual coworker that's sitting side by side with you and helping you process all the information that you need to do, taking over manual tasks, helping you make better decisions and things along those lines. CPA can leverage advanced AI technologies like machine learning and natural language processing. It can make decisions based on what it's seen before and the rules it's given. It can operate across multiple facets of the business and apply to multiple business operations. So again, it's really the difference between kind of a dumb robot and an intelligent coworker that has the ability to learn, to get better, to make decisions, to point you in the right direction on your own decisions, and ultimately benefit you because you can do a lot more with that technology. So I want to ask everyone to kind of read all the text that's on here. I think, again, we'll make this slide and this rebroadcast available to everyone to take a look at. But what I'd primarily point out here is, the benefit of a CPA, a cognitive process automation solution. And primarily that is the fact that it can take advantage of all the benefits that AI provides. So natural language understanding, being able to automate your complete workflow, whereas RPA often can only do that in a partial way, if at all. Being able to process structured and unstructured documents, even things like audio and video, being able to process that and transcribe them, which RPA cannot do. And of course, just the ability to, again, learn and get better as it operates. Oftentimes on day one, our clients see a certain level of automation. And when we check in with them 2 months, 6 months later, that number's gone up. And they're automating more and more of their processes because the system is learning and getting better as it goes. And that's the power of AI. And that's why this is important. And we really believe that everyone on this call should be considering an AI-based solution for AP automation. And so, of course, let's consider accuracy, right? Because at the end of the day, most of us on this call come from the financial world. Data accuracy is incredibly important, right? It's how we're measured. It's how we think about things. We look at the numbers, and the numbers need to work, and they need to make sense. So what are the benefits in terms of accuracy that an AI-led solution can bring to the table? Helping you to avoid the mistakes that cost you money and also goodwill among your supply chain. Presenting a more professional and a reliable image to your partners as you pay them on time, as you give them access to payment information on when their invoice will be paid and things like that. again, making sure that people want to work with you and can really rely on you as a partner. For those of you in highly regulated industries, ensuring compliance with regulatory requirements and also creating reliable audit trails on the back end. More effective cash management and financial planning, and ultimately enhancing overall AP effectiveness, reducing mistakes and reducing any processing delays that may be inherent in your system. So accuracy is, as I talk to companies and CFOs in these organizations, accuracy is always something that comes up. They need to be able to rely on a system to reduce fraud, reduce mistakes, create verifiable results and audit trails and things like that. Oftentimes with their current system, they can't rely on that data, which means people need to step in and verify it. With an AI-led solution, that confidence is really there. So for the CFOs on the call, what is in it for you? Why should you consider an AI solution for your AP initiative? How about just overall better management and planning? How about better cash flow forecasts, better financial visibility so that you can do your own financial projections and planning? Reduce costs in terms of operational and labor costs. Managing and mitigating risk and ensuring regulatory compliance, building stronger vendor relationships, making sure your business isn't interrupted at any point. And ultimately, how about a happier team and a team that works more efficiently and is not forced to do the manual, tedious, repetitive tasks that everyone complains about and nobody likes when it comes to that AP process. Which leads me to the next point of what's in it for your teams. I think improved efficiency. They're working much more efficiently. They get to go home at 5 o'clock rather than stay and enter all the invoices they didn't get to earlier in the day. More productivity, making sure that they can do the jobs they're assigned and then some, maybe focus their efforts on more important tasks like cash flow management, financial projections, improving vendor relations, greater accuracy. Nobody likes to make mistakes. People like even less being held accountable for mistakes. So if an AI-led system can be that kind of coworker looking over their shoulder to make sure that the data is accurate, even better. And a strategic focus, really what this allows folks to do is, since a lot of these manual tasks are handled by your AI-led coworker, it allows them to focus on more strategic work, more important things, which again, I think everyone is looking for in their workday. So for those of you that are considering automation or looking for the next step in automation, what is it that you can do as you consider this? Ultimately, I would say everyone out there should consider AI technology and an AI-led solution for your AP process. And if you are doing that, what is it that you should look for? We've covered a lot of these points, but ultimately end-to-end automation, right? The word automation isn't truly automated unless it's end-to-end, unless it doesn't require manual effort. That's the whole premise of automation. And again, you run into inherent limits with RPA automation today. It can only do so much. And the evolution of that, and the next step is really turning to an AI-led solution. Your workflows, no matter how different, long, complicated, specific to your business, AI can handle it. It's meant to be extremely flexible there so that the system is changing to meet your processes and requirements, not the other way around. We talked a little bit about technology. So ICR just leagues better than OCR in terms of being able to handle any kind of document, any kind of media that you want to import and take a look at. ICR can do it, OCR cannot. So I would never recommend investing in a new OCR system because you're going to start hitting those limits. Cognitive process automation, why not bring in all those capabilities that AI offers? How about a Gen AI enabled front end where you can ask questions about vendors and invoices and payments whenever someone on your team or yourself has one? Just type it in and get the answer right away from the system. That's the power of AI. Straight through processing rates, 90% sounds pretty good to me. And in some cases, we have clients that are doing even better than that, which I'll talk about in just a minute. And finally, ERP integration. So ultimately, making sure that you're adopting a system, a technology that fits into your existing stack, doesn't cause a lot of disruption, and can work with your ERP. Oftentimes that's done through APIs with more advanced technology, but making sure that that process is seamless and bidirectional is incredibly important. So all of these are the 6 requirements I would put at the top of your list if you are looking to choose and invest in an AP automation solution. Terrific. We have another poll at this point, so I'll let people take a look and start to weigh in. Thanks for your attention to this point. And these responses are always certainly interesting for us to see what's most important to people. And if you haven't voted yet, please go ahead and click on one of these. It's okay. Nobody can tell who you are, so it's okay to be honest. All right, let's take a look at our results here. So what percentage of your invoices are processed with straight-through processing without manual intervention? Okay, as I look at these answers, couple things I see in here. It looks like the bulk of folks are in that 20 to 50% range. What that says to me is that if you have automation, it's probably an RPA system. And you're starting to run up into those limitations that we talked about with an RPA system and the technology that it uses. For folks that are over 50%, 50 to 80%, I'm guessing a lot of those are folks that have done additional customization on their system, additional work to make it better, to kind of do that training, get it to that point. Not a high number, but as you start to get over that 50% level, which is kind of what you see with RPA, usually that involves some ongoing work and training and customization of the system. And then, of course, for those of you less than 20%, hopefully you've gotten a sense of just how powerful automation and especially AI-led automation can be, and just the profound changes it can bring around in your business by looking at it and investing in it. So I think, hey, at the end of the day, that's wide open for you. Great. We're drawing towards the end here. So let me shift gears a little bit and put my E42 hat on just for a minute. So what we just presented and talked about, I think, is, again, a lot of what we see and hear in our conversations with clients and also our experience with customers when it comes to AP automation. So what is it that E42 can bring to the table across all these dimensions? So E42 is an AI-led automation solution. That's what we do. And not only that, we're a native AI solution. So we weren't an RPA solution that tacked on some AI on the back end. We're a system that was developed from the ground up using AI technology. So what does that mean? That means that we can help you achieve end-to-end automation of every step in your AP process seamlessly. That means that we can automate your entire workflow. Again, a big difference between RPA and CPA is automating that workflow and making sure that all that extraction of data that's happening from your invoices can be applied to other areas in that workflow for validation, for approvals, for writing to the GL, everything else that's there, making sure that data can be used and the workflow can be automated. We do that. Making sure that you're using the most advanced character recognition technology that's out there, which is ICR. We do that. We can read structured, unstructured documents. Frankly, it always surprises me how good we are at that. I see invoices that have gone through the ringer, and we run them through the system, and we pick up everything. It's really amazing what an ICR system can do. And I would say that our ICR technology is the best in the industry today. So that's something that we bring to the table. Your low total cost of ownership, again, not having to go back and constantly be training invoices, constantly be upgrading your system, not necessarily getting a disappointing return on your automation investment because you're running up into those technology ceilings that we talked about. Again, looking at a smart investment in smart technology that's going to give you not only an immediate return on day one, but a much lower total cost of ownership over time. And I think ultimately we stand by our numbers that you can see down here below. So with the close to 75 clients that we have, over 10 million invoices processed, 20 plus integrations, including most of the major ERPs, 95% extraction accuracy, 90% straight through processing, ROI in up to 3 weeks, which is about the time it takes us to implement you and get you active on AI. We think of this as a quick AI win for a lot of AP teams. If you're a multinational company, making sure that we support the languages that you do business in as well. 13, and I believe we're doubling or tripling that in the coming months. So certainly something that we're focused on, and we know our clients are focused on. And before we get to Q&A, I'm just going to give you one quick example of a success story, a client that we've worked with and saw results using E42. So this is a major automotive manufacturer. And essentially, they had some challenges when they came to us. They had a very manual, inefficient end-to-end process that they were dealing with. They had high error rates and all the negatives that come along with that. So overpayment, duplicate payments, missing payments, things along those lines. And a lot of that was leading to just a bad vendor experience. So their partners were complaining, they were going elsewhere. At the end of the day, you're an automotive manufacturer, you're going to have a lot of partners, you're going to be reliant on materials and that supply chain to really make your business go. You can't have bad relations with your vendors and your supply chain. You got to keep them happy. So they came to us. They came to E42 and said, help us really automate this process. So we did. And some of the results that we helped them to achieve that they're seeing today, 96% accuracy in data extraction. So as I mentioned, ICR technology, we talk about the rates that we can extract at. I don't believe we were at 96% on day one, but that's the level that we've gotten to because this is a system that learns and gets smarter the more that you use it. And this client saw that. 100-person days saved every month. I would post the question out there, what does everyone on this call think they could do with those 100 days a month if all of a sudden that was freed up for people to focus on more strategic, more important work? Supporting both structured and unstructured documents. So no matter what kind of a format you receive something in, E42 can handle it. It's a scalable solution. So this client started off with, I think, several thousand invoices a month, has since scaled up to over 5,000 invoices per month because they are a growing business. And E42 can handle that no problem. So this is truly a solution that will scale with your business. And ultimately, that enhanced user experience for the vendors, again, we can check that box. Repairing those damaged relations that they had with their vendors and their supply chain to allow them to continue unimpeded in that area and operate their business. So that's all I had as far as my presentation goes. I hope this was helpful for everyone. And I know that Roy is going to open things up to a Q&A session.
Thanks, Jonathan. Looks like we got a few questions in the chat. Let's start off with how much time does it normally take for an AI solution to produce a considerable ROI?
It's a great question. And I think consistent with the survey results we saw back, which is those financial considerations and ROI are top of mind for folks when they think about this. I mean, it's day one. Honestly, the minute you flip the switch on and your AI-enabled solution starts working, you're starting to see improvements there, improvements in invoice extraction percentages, improvements in automation of your workflow, improvements of accuracy in the data that's extracted, making sure no invoices are missed because you have an AI coworker monitoring that inbox or that vendor portal. Again, it literally happens on day one. And then, as we talked about before, since this is an AI-based system, it gets better and improves over time. So that ROI is apparent on day one. And again, you can just expect results to get better over time.
Another question. We're using AbbVie and considering moving to a more advanced solution. Anything specific we should look at when looking for alternatives?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I would go back to those criteria that we talked about before, which is, end-to-end processing. Can the system handle that? Automation of workflows, right? Can the system handle that? My understanding of that particular vendor is it's an RPA solution that may have developed some AI add-ons to help, but again, not a native AI platform like an E42. So the ICR capability, what kind of extraction do they produce? And the challenge I would put out there is take an AI vendor and an RPA vendor, give them the same invoices, and ask them to show you in real time what their extraction looks like and how accurate they are, and compare those side by side. Make it an even test and just see, you can see for yourself what the difference is there. That total cost of ownership, right? With an RPA solution, again, you're constantly training invoices. The minute you sign up a new vendor, they have a new invoice format. You have to go back in and train it on the system, right? That's manual work. I think all of those considerations, but I would go back to those 6 points we made on the checklist and say, use those as a starting point and go from there.
Great. Does your solution also handle validation effectively?
So yes, it does. E42 is a solution that is designed to work in an environment and with other systems. So whether or not that is an ERP or another system to verify that the vendors are real, to check against a PO, to look for fraud and look for fraudulent invoices, to look for duplicates, whatever it might be. Whether or not that's a validation we can perform on our own, or we need to check with another system, bring that data back and do the validation, absolutely. And all of that's automated. So whereas with a semi-automated solution, people need to step in and manually do those validations in a lot of cases, the system can not only handle that validation automatically, but if there are discrepancies, it can communicate directly with the vendor, send them an email and say, hey, here's what we saw. Can you please check this and resubmit, whatever it might be. So again, one step in the automation process, AI handles it better than any other solution out there.
Absolutely. And coming to the last question here, if anybody has any final questions, feel free to post them in the Q&A section. Jonathan, what impact is AI expected to have on AP teams, especially with respect to job loss and things like that?
Sure. I mean, great question. It's good to hear that folks are really internalizing this and thinking about it, especially as it applies to their business. I think it's a question for AI in general, right? Is what's the impact going to be on the workforce? And what we've seen specifically is that it's less about replacing people than freeing people up to do more important things and more important work. And I'll give you some examples that we've seen with some of our clients. So we had one client that had an 8-person AP team, and they brought E42 in to help with that. What ended up coming out of that was, I believe they had 2 people that were really responsible for working with the AI coworker, working with E42, making sure it was monitored, trained. Again, there is some management of even an AI solution that needs to take place. So having people on the team monitor the system, make sure that everything is going smoothly was part of their role. For the other folks, they were given new training and given new tasks to perform as part of their AP function, cash flow management, financial planning and reporting, working with vendors and improving those vendor relationships and things like that. So they didn't lose a single person. What they did was they took the team that they had and repurposed them so that not only could they run their new AI-enabled AP solution more effectively, but they could also focus on more important tasks that had a bigger impact on the organization, on the finance group, as well as the overall organization. Um, Given new responsibilities, given new training, and as I understand it, they're really thriving there. So the AI coworker is not meant to replace anybody, and certainly that's not our intent. It's meant to be that intelligent coworker that works alongside your team, helps them to improve and get better, and allows them to focus on the things that are most important.
Outstanding. So that concludes our webinar today. Thank you everybody for your time and participation. For next steps, tomorrow you'll be receiving a thank you email that'll include a few different things. We'll go ahead and attach the slide deck that Jonathan covered today. We'll also include a link for the recording from the webinar in case any of you would like to share your findings, the education you learned today with any of your team members. And then we'll also include a link to Jonathan's calendar to schedule an intro call if you'd be interested in learning a little bit more about E42's artificial intelligence powered AP platform. And during those intro calls, we certainly would love to learn a little bit more about your current process, some of the bottlenecks that you're facing, so we can work together towards a solution. So once again, really appreciate everybody's time, and that'll go ahead and conclude the webinar for today.
Thank you.